Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here once again with our next episode of Whistle Talk. Today with me, I have a little bit of a unique guest today, kind of going out of the realm of the officiating and the coaching world, but somebody who is definitely familiar with the football world. I've got with me today Mr. John Bronson. But before we dive into it, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit those like buttons, hit the subscribe, send me your comments. Go to my YouTube page. You'll be able to see the broadcast of it, not the live broadcast, but the broadcast of it on YouTube also. You see my link right there. And with that being said, John, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. Another day, just moving, always busy, but life is good.
That's great to hear. So, John, why don't you let the listeners know a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your backstory, your football knowledge, and then what you're working on these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is John Bronson. I come from a sports family. I'll start there. I'm the oldest of four. Three of my brothers played professionally. Of course, I played the Cardinals. My middle brother played the Seahawks in that those Super Bowl runs. And then my little brother still playing. He's been a lot of different places. Saints, Dolphins, Cowboys, and just recently got picked up at the Colts. So you can say I come from a nice lineage of sport. And then my sister also a high profile collegiate athlete that ran track and played basketball. So I come from a long line of sports there. So I'm happy on that. For me, I went to Penn State, went as my alma mater. Had a great time there. Graduated 4 years. Obviously, the 3 years started there. And unique about me, I played defensive end in college. And then I transitioned to tight end in my senior year. That helped actually working out well for me in the league. I ended up going to the league to the Arizona Cardinals as a tight end. Made the team as an undrafted rookie free agent. Stuck around there for just shy of 3 years. Had a great time. Played with a lot of greats. Larry Fitzgerald, who a lot of people know. Brian Johnson, who I went to school with at Penn State. Anquan Bowden, Kurt Warner, Edgerrin James in my second year. Matt Leinart, I mean, the list goes on. Levi Brown, who am I missing? Darnell Dockett, tons of great guys I played with in Arizona. So I had a great time there. And, from there, just a transition. I learned a lot from sport, from the business of sport, and transition into business. Started business in real estate, and then I eventually morphed that into starting a network for professional athletes to connect with the community in Arizona. Grew that to a bunch of different locations. After I had a pivot there, traveled the world for a long time. Actually, excuse me, before that, also was president of the NFLPA chapter in Arizona for a number of years. Then traveled the world for a while, for about 7 years. Lived everywhere from Caribbean to Europe to Southeast Asia. So I've been all over. And then, yeah. Recently came back to the U.S. Last year. I mean, my wife, we had a beautiful daughter. She's now 10 months, and living in South
Congrats.
Florida. Thank you. And one of the biggest things there was when I came back in, I wanted to surround myself with something that was impactful, and that can really make a difference, and something that I really understood and unfortunately or unfortunately been a part of, and which was obviously concussions and concussion care. So most recently, a few months ago, I joined a company as their chief business officer of Conan Medtech. Basically, what we say is we're here to revolutionize concussion care. So we invented this real-time concussion detection device that really helps from a saliva that can help in real time, basically be able to help diagnose concussions on site. So I say the biggest thing behind that is there's a little bit of a gap for players that end up getting concussions, or those and parents that don't know what to do if their kids get concussions. So, we're looking to alleviate that pain a little bit by at least getting some more information so they can get that diagnosis to their physician, and more help to get more answers about their particular situation. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's a
absolutely.
little bit about me.
No, listen, you've had a great run there, great family lineage. So all those things are awesome to hear. And now working with this company, Conan Medtech, it's fantastic stuff. And that's actually the main reason why I was reaching out to you to try to bring you on today, because I'm still involved in coaching. I'm still involved in officiating, obviously, as we talked about pre-production. And I'm still seeing it at the youth level, at the high school level. You're still seeing it at the collegiate level. And now you're down in South Florida. We
Hmm.
just had Tua Tagovailoa. I apologize. I'm terrible at saying his last name.
No,
But
that's correct.
Tua got another concussion, and now this past
Hmm.
weekend we had Devonta Smith get a concussion. So I know there's a lot of different technologies out there, and I know that all the different leagues are working towards A, preventative measures, and then B, okay, it is still a contact sport, it is still a collision sport, it is unfortunately going to happen. What can they do to identify it? So that's where
Hmm.
I thought bringing you in would be great. So why don't
Yeah.
you, if you could, describe the product that you guys are working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a real-time concussion detection, and I say detection because as you may alluded to, there's a lot of different companies who are working in the protection aspect, which is also very important. So, and
Mm-hmm.
look, we're one of those that we're looking to continue to wrap our arms and partner with those protection companies, and help to close the gap on it. But the reality is that we're talking about, especially if we're talking about sport, especially if we're talking about contact sport, we're talking about collisions to the body that's not normally going to happen to everyday people who are, unless you get into a situation, right? And so from us, we what we did was we realized, okay, look, football's not going anywhere. Other contact sports, whether it be hockey, even boxing, those things are not going anywhere, right? For a while. So how can we help to at least alleviate from a detection aspect? And I say, look, if you break your arm, you knock on wood, you're going to see that you've broken your arm, right? So you're going to
Yes.
be able, you're going to get the help. You're going to go to the doctor as well. It's not the same thing when it's related to concussion, right? And so with concussion, I know I've had about, three or four, five or more, myself, and some that I probably don't even remember, right? And, and you just kind of shake it off as like, part of the game and et cetera. So in our aspect, what we're doing is really, focusing on that detection aspect. We understand that it's going to happen. When it does happen, you want to take measures to be able to take the next step faster, right? And there's what we've been when we understood that in under 24 hours, if you can detect a concussion under 24 hours, you can really help to mitigate a lot of the longer term effects that will happen later in life. You hear about what Brett Favre just came out yesterday, suggesting that he had saying that he had what was it? I forgot exactly what it was, but a particular disease. Unfortunately, you've heard about CTE, you hear about
CTE, yeah.
epilepsy, yeah, you hear about all these things, right? And so the unfortunate part, as myself and a lot of players that already went through it prior to this, we already got to face whatever is we're going to face moving forward, and maybe some therapies that'll help us. But what we can do is help those kids, those that are coming up, and from the league, elite sport, all the way down to youth sports and beyond, to be able to understand that, hey, there's a better way. You can get detection a lot faster to be able to take the measures to reduce any potential symptoms and outcomes that could last you a long time.
Yeah, and you said it. I'm a little bit older than you, John. And back when I played Division III football. I didn't have the Division I contact that you were having on a consistent basis. I was an offensive lineman, though, so I actually got diagnosed with my first concussion about 4 years ago when I got
Okay.
hit in the side of the head with a volleyball. I'm a phys ed teacher by nature, and I got hit in the side of the head with a volleyball. That's
Yeah.
my first diagnosed concussion.
Correct.
Like you said, I know I've had others.
Sure.
I couldn't tell you what the number is because back in the day I got my bell rung. And
Absolutely. And to that point, I always say you mentioned about Tua. Look, I said, look, for everyone Tua hit that is like you see it, and of course it's on national TV. There's about 5 or 10 others that never, that don't get publicized that a player may just shake off. So what we also want to do is make sure, look, that there's a situation where you can at least understand exactly where you are to whether that being, hey, look, you got tested real quick and you can go back in the game, or hey, you got tested and you got concussed, so you may want to stay out. And so this will really kind of close the gap in that aspect to be able to make the best decision and informed decision for players, athletic trainers, all the way up.
and that's great stuff. And I know now being at the youth level and working with the high school kids as an official, there's key things that we're being trained to look for. But I'm a phys ed teacher. I'm not a doctor, so it's tough.
Certainly.
And like you said, it's even tough for doctors to truly diagnose the level of concussion because sometimes the MRI is not there, and then you got to deal with post concussion type of symptoms and different things like that. So being able to identify it right then and there within minutes as opposed to days or weeks, that's fantastic stuff.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that for a second. I mean, even let's say you go through the normal chain. Let's say a kid gets hit, and get concussed. Parents may not take the kid to the doctor. Well, you got to go sit in a doctor's appointment, find a doctor's appointment, then sit there. Then right now it's currently mostly blood work related. So you may have a 2 or 3 days, maybe a week before you get the results. Well, that's a long stretch of time before you can at least understand where the baseline is. So what we're doing is just closing the gap and being able to have that information in real time. So, and when I say that information, so how it works is that we have this little device. I say maybe the size smaller than a pregnancy test, right? But same kind of
Okay.
functionality, right? And then basically it's a spit, it's a saliva. So you use your saliva to help to detect the whether you've got concussed or not. And then from there, that information is transferred to an app that will literally spit out a report that you can give to the athletic trainer, give to the physician or whoever to help speed up that care for that particular person. So it helps to put the power back into how to be able to get the problem resolved a lot faster. And initially, you want to get players back, if it's a player, back on the field. One thing that we're doing in addition to that is making sure that we cover the same aspect for military, and then we're learning as we
Hmm.
go. You just talked about volleyball, right? And hitting ahead with volleyball, and we're learning every day of different means of how people are getting concussed, and we want to make sure that we have this portable device that's really available, just as you would the band-aids and the peroxide in an emergency kit, really available for whenever that time of need.
Yeah, and it's pretty scary. I have your company's website up here, and just looking at some of the statistics that you guys pulled from the CDC.
Yeah.
But 4 million plus concussions a year in the United States that are from sports related type of injuries. Now, again, you mentioned the contact sports. A lot of people don't realize soccer, cheerleading. There's a number of other sports where people aren't thinking as your stereotypical contact sport like boxing and football and hockey that you're getting the concussions. And again, I'm just looking quickly at the stats here. 40% of the athletes say that their coaches don't diagnose them properly, and or they're in
Yep.
69 are playing while suffering from a concussion and they're continuing to play. So those are some scary things. And now that today, learning what's going on with CTE and seeing the effects that players that I grew up watching play football have episodes to the point that some people are taking their own lives because of stuff that wasn't diagnosed when they were younger. That's scary stuff. It's really scary stuff. And the more that we as a football community can do to help this and keep our sport that we love going, I think stuff like what you're talking about is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the reality is that look, we're talking about contact sport, right? And so when you're in a contact sport, you are liable to get some type of injury, especially when you're using, whether you intend to or not, your head as a weapon, right? That is just the nature of it. So whether it happens on accident or not, it'll happen. So the best thing you can do is to try to do your best to mitigate it from a detection aspect, and on the other side, have more protective measures and companies that are coming out with more protective things to to really balance out how to be able to control having less concussions.
Mhm. So I know my son's team. My son's on a 12U team. We wear the Guardian caps, which is one of the
Yeah,
protective measures that you're referring to. It's pretty well known in the football world. They wear it for every single practice here in New Jersey, and I think it's NFHS is allowing for the high school players to wear the Guardian caps during the game. It's by choice, and now you're seeing the trickle up effect. Actually, I think last I looked, I think there are 5 or 6 NFL players that are wearing Guardian caps in the games. Now, I think it's mandated in practice that they have to wear it, but in games, there's about 5 or 6 of them that are wearing it, and they've got their logo kind of stretched out across it,
sure.
so it's kind of hiding it. Um,
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, I was going to say, are there any other different types of devices that you're aware of? That I know Q collar is another one that's out there.
I seen. Yes, I actually met with the company. Again, like I said, my whole premise is, of course, we're going to do our part in helping the detection. But that's basically saying, hey, you got concussed. Here's what's next.
Yeah.
We also, a part to that is want to make sure that we partner with those that can help in the protection aspect. So I actually met with a company a few weeks back. Gosh, I'm gonna butcher their name right now. I have to send to Shiesty, but it's a very Shiesty cap or something like that. I have to come back to that. I'll get it to you for the
Okay.
people. But I mean, I saw the demonstration. Literally, it's a cap you wear inside of the helmet. Uh, I'll just
Okay.
make the demonstration real quick. Basically, guy put his hand on the outside of the pad, took a hammer, had the pad, took a hammer to it, and literally you can hit his hammer and didn't feel a thing.
Hmm.
So, so the reduction already. So I'm sure it'll be, it'll eventually make its way through. And this is one to really take notice of and to take a look at. And there's not no takeaway of what's out there already, but this is the first one I've seen that is in that you wear as a cap. Like let's say you're going out in the cold and
Yep.
in Pennsylvania and it's freezing cold and you got one of them caps on. But think about one that's like thick for it that you can still wear over your helmet. Doesn't maneuver your ability, and at the same time gives you more protection to be able to make sure that you are protected from your head. So I really like what they have going on there on the protective side to really enhance. But I think the moral of the story here is that at least there's some there where we're really starting to think about how to protect the head, right? Protect the neural, and this is what's important for not just sport, unfortunately, but for other aspects, but specifically in sports where day in, day out, you're going to be hitting somebody on the other end, for football or boxing, etc. So, yeah, there's some good stuff. I'll have to send you the name so I don't butcher it too much here.
Not a problem, and I'll definitely throw that into the show notes for the listeners that are out there. Um, so your description that you gave earlier about your playing career and your family's playing career, you've gone through multiple levels, and your family's gone through multiple levels in the sport, and achieved at the highest level. I got to ask you a question now from an official's point of view.
Hmm.
What are you seeing now, and what is, if I could ask what your family is seeing, is the stuff working that the leagues are doing? And we're not going to say any specific leagues. We don't want to give anything up, but is there something that as officials that we can be doing better to help on the preventative or even with the diagnostic type of scenario that you're seeing that's going on in the sport? Because again, I love football. My son's still involved in it. I'm still coaching it. I'm 50 years old now. I've been involved in the sport since I was 16. So it's a pretty long majority of my life that I've been involved in the sport of football, and I want to see it continue to grow.
Yeah. Look, as an official, you're doing all you can do out there, and you got one pair of eyes, and you got what, four officials on the field, and so I mean, of course, you're doing your best to see things in real time and to call it how it is, in real time. And of course, in certain evolutions of football, you got replays, so that helps as well in certain aspects, to be able to go back to the tape. But that's not really the case for youth sports, I don't believe, at least in Florida where my nephew is, playing, et cetera. To that point, I mean, look, I don't, I'm not sure how much more you can do other than keep calling it how it is, right? And continue to take a big step towards player safety in terms of, if somebody's hitting with their head down, maybe, and even if they miss, give them a warning. Hey, look, keep your head up, next time you get a foul if you actually hit somebody. But I think from what I see, I think all is being done. Again, we're talking about a contact sport that you basically have trained to, the goal is to literally hit the other person. Like so, and your head is a part of your body, even though you're trying to keep your head out of it. Sometimes it just doesn't add up that way. I know in my day it wasn't, you know, um, it wasn't nowhere near as significant as now of how they train or to try to train you to keep your head out of the tackle, right? And tackle in different ways. So you're just doing whatever you need to do to make the tackle. Now they take a little bit more steps as far as coaches and trainers, et cetera, to help kids and players keep their head out of the tackle so they don't get penalties and fouls and et cetera, and obviously stay safer. But as an official, I think look. I mean, your job is to call the play how it is, right? And it's not you're not the one training and teaching the kids. Um, so yeah, I honestly I don't see a whole lot more you can do right now.
Okay. Now, what about from the coaching side? What are some things that you're possibly seeing on a coaching side or hearing from people that we can do better? And I'll put my coaching hat on now that we can do
Sure.
better in teaching the kids about tackling because I know we all take the different measures. We got to watch the different videos and stuff like that they mandate. My son's part of the AYF program, so they mandate some tackling videos and teaching that. Is there anything specific that you could pass along to coaches out there?
It's just continued repetition, trying to keep your head up. I know, like, there's organizations like Heads Up and I believe like USA Football and those, organizations that, try to have different trainers and et cetera out in certain aspects to teach that stuff and et cetera. But again, like I said, we're kind of talking about contact sports. So it's just more repetition of how to tackle. I know, like, so my middle brother played for Demetrius. He played for Seattle, and I remember when I was he was a running back, but I remember I was always watching how they tackled in practice, and they would have this. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's a specific like it was more used for rugby. It was like a rugby style of tackling.
Hmm.
So and like how rugby players tackle, and so they adopted that method to really help player safety. And I think those are the kind of methods. If you look a lot what rugby players do, look, they don't have helmets, so you're not putting their head in a play, right? So they're automatically trained to keep their head out of a play. And of course, I'm sure things happen on accident, etc. But just measures like that, and just learning how to keep your head up, and stay lower. But again, it's tough when you're in the heat of battle and you're a safety and you're barreling down on a player trying to make a tackle that's already low, and you're trying to get lower than they are, so you don't get the head out, and then sometimes you just do have a head-to-head collision or looks that way, or ricochet. You can
Yep.
slide your helmet slides from a shoulder pads to a face mask on accident. I mean, it's a lot happening when you're got that much speed, that much enforcement on a play that players are bringing today. So I think just more of just more education, more training, and also I think on the other side maybe some the importance of why. That's probably what's missing, right? Here's why. And I don't care if you got to bring a ton of foreign players out to be like, look, this, or see statistics, because look, they're out there today, especially related to CTE. It's high. It's like, I think I saw a statistic like out of 100 players that did a survey they did a survey on like 98 of them had CTE. That is
Oof.
insane. That is insane, right? So if you look at that, maybe from a player standpoint, they're going to kind of like mentally try to adjust to ensure that their head is out of a plate as best as they can. Again, that's tough when you're talking about an interior lineman who's what their job is. You take off and your head goes right through to a breastplate, and sometimes it gets a little higher. And so it's
Yep.
not also the big hits. It's not also the big hits, the big power hits. It's those repetitive hits that are taken that a O lineman takes day after day after day after day. That's also a big effect on a player.
Yeah, a lot of people, like you're talking about, see the big hits and they're thinking that. But I was an old offensive lineman. You playing D line and tight end. You've probably heard
Yeah,
about the fight going on inside the phone booth for the old school
for
phone booth. It
sure.
was a small little compact area, but it was the Wild West in that area. There was a lot of contact going on, and heck, back in my day in high school, I was cool because my face mask was all chewed up and different things like that because I was throwing my face in there. I was getting my face involved. And now learning the effects of all those things, I'm probably going to say I'm part of that 98%. I don't know for certain, but I'm probably going to fall into that 98 percentile with the CTE. What
I, you
type
know,
of effects? What type of effects are you learning about now that with CTE that people may not associate that as going on with post concussion type of syndromes and different things like that? Not only just the CTE, but just post concussion type stuff.
yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of effects. I think I'm knocking wood. Obviously, I never hope I don't fall into that category. But then again, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be want to be tested. I want to know. I'll be
Yeah,
frank with you on that. So I just deal with the consequences as they come. But yeah, look, there's a lot. I know a lot of different players, and you get some. My brother, he had my middle brother again. He was a wrestler too, WWE, NXT, WWE, and so he actually got a really bad TBI effect, like when he was wrestling. Like they say it's fake, but it's I call it real fake, right? If a
yeah,
person missed if a hand's supposed to be there, and in this case, the hand's supposed to be there to protect his head, and it wasn't, boom, you hit your head on the step, right? So what can happen is that there's a lot of irritability, irritability, excuse me, that goes on. Some players, even sometimes like myself, can't be in a lot of light for a long time, right? So like rather have it dark or a darker scenario, and then it can escalate from there. You know, different things. Maybe fumbling words like I'm doing now.
yeah,
Being able to just not remember simple things that you like to remember, like how to get back home or et cetera. And and there's obviously feeling isolated in certain aspects. So there's a lot of things that can transpire. And so I think the biggest thing is, at least what we try to do, especially with around NFLPA and the guys that I'm surrounded, is just try to be as lifting as possible and try to put yourself in better moments, right? And for myself, I can tell you my personal experience is like what helps me is like try to do things in more like alternative wellness scenarios, yogas and breath work, things that like don't require like pills and things like that, because sometimes that just adds to the problem. So yeah, I mean there's a lot. I can't sit here and name every aspect, but it's because
yeah.
sometimes you just don't know unfortunately until it's too late, right? You think somebody's like perfect, and then wow, you found out that wow, they were hurting and they're not here, or whatever the case is. So unfortunately, there's a lot of symptoms, and that's what we're looking to help detect faster, so we don't so a lot of players don't have can at least get better help faster.
Yeah, I know. I definitely, I really like that, and like I said, I've only had one diagnosed, and that I'm certain that that's not the case because different time frames.
Right,
Um,
for sure.
so the product that you're talking about with the detection, where can the public get that? Is it available to the public? Is it something that just is in the private sector? And ballpark range of like finances and stuff like that? Like
Yeah.
how affordable is it, if you don't mind me asking?
Absolutely. So I will say we're still it's still we have not officially put it to market yet. We're about
Okay.
9 to 12 months out. We have a few more tests to run, and then and obviously we're in this in another funding stage to get us to market. So we're a little bit out, but we want to make sure we got everything out. But we're really fast moving. When it does come out, it'll be $75 um, for two kits, so you have two kits in one. And you want to compare that to a 400 dollar potential CT scan or MRI, that you would have
Yep.
to get and all those things, and there's so there's a huge gap in terms of there, and that's if you got insurance. If you don't have insurance, then you're paying probably more. So
Yeah.
again, it's something that you can have real portable, keep as an emergency next to the band-aids and the peroxide and the other things that you keep in a kit or in a sideline, etc. But also we wanted to make sure that it was affordable, that a family can go pick up, a mom can go pick up in CVS or Walgreens or whatever, and be able to just pull off the shelf. So that's our goal of distribution and how we'll be able to make it readily available to the market.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So we're seeing, like you were saying, we're seeing the protective measures coming out and the different technology with the protective measures. But now having that immediate idea, okay, the protective measures were there, something happened, now we know.
Yes.
That's great, and that's great that it's going to be affordable for. I mean, my youth program is all volunteers, so we're working on fundraising and our registration fees and stuff like that. So the fact that it's in a price point that is affordable for the majority of the population out there is definitely beneficial. So that's great to hear.
Absolutely. And that's, look, that's on a retail one-off scenario. So like, for schools and for organizations, of course, the price is a lot lower, because you're going to have more, more packages and et cetera. So, that's the number one. We want to make sure we don't want to just put something together and then it still is unaffordable and unaccessible. We want to make sure that it's affordable and accessible where anybody that it's a matter of an emergency, just as you again with a band-aid. You don't Most people don't preliminary get don't get, well, I guess you could get band-aids after the fact. You generally have an emergency kit because it's an emergency. So we wanted to make sure that it's available in an emergency scenario that you have in that kit, just like would the other things.
That's great. That's great stuff. Well, John, once again, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you've been very busy with your schedule. I think the information that you passed along is fantastic. If at the post production again, I'll throw in onto the show notes the different companies that you had mentioned for anybody else that is out there. I will also include a link to the company that you're now currently working for. Is there anything else that my listeners may want to hear about regarding safety measures or concussion type of stuff that you could help them out with?
Yeah, look, I would just say, continue the good fight of concussion care. It is a real thing. It's an evolving problem, so to speak. I mean, look, U Sports, they just came out with a report, man, a couple of days ago. Geez, I can't remember the numbers, but it's basically growing year over year, which means that there's going to be more impact, more contact, and more impact, and especially in football, right? And so, the more education and the more information that's out there that can be measured in addition to the products and the devices that can help, the better. Also, it's called Great Skin. The cap I was talking about, Great Skin Shiesty.
Okay,
I'll send you a link and some information on it so you can put it in the notes and everything.
perfect.
But it is it's a we look to be a great partner with them as well, and like I said, continue the avenue of concussion care and keeping everybody as healthy as possible, as they go through life. So,
Well, John, if there's anything that I can do on the high school officials end, please always feel free to reach out to me. I would love to be a resource because, again, I still personally I still have my child going through it, but I love the sport and I want to see all the kids come out of the game having fun and remembering the game and coming out safe. Ultimately, like all those things are high on my list of when I officiate the game, I want the kids coming out safe and remembering the game, not me, and going from there. So if there's anything
Absolutely.
that I could help out with, please feel free to reach out.
Well, Mike, I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. Once again, ladies
Conan
and
Medtech
gentlemen,
is the name.
that is
ConanMedtech.com. That's where you can find us, read more about us, and follow us and our progress, and get on our list for when we're available for sale. So
awesome stuff, John. Thank you very much once again. All right,
thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen. Again, check out the show notes at the end. I will have all this information documented down, so you can click on the different links on the different show notes. Once again, for all the fans that are out there, please hit the like and subscribe button. Go to my YouTube page, and you can see the conversation that John and I had. And again, you'll be able to find all the links right there. Hit like and subscribe there. John, once again, thank you very much. Have a fantastic rest of your
Thank you.
day.
You as well, Mike.
All right, sir. We are done recording.
Okay, good, good.
And
How
looks
did
like
that look?
If you're enjoying today's show and you want to show your appreciation to Mike D, you can buy him a beer by clicking on the link in the show notes or go to buymeacoffee.com/Mike D the referee. And as always, make sure to click follow and give 5 stars. Thanks for listening. Cheers.